So we created a JavaFX application. We set the title of the primary stage. We set up our scene graph root. We add the root to the scene. The scene is 600 by 400 pixels with the background of lime green. We assign the scene to the stage object, and then we are showing the stage, and we are launching the application from the main, which we'll call the start method. And this is basically what we will be looking at right now. Okay. Hi, Greg. I got your email. Thank you for sending me an email. This is our very first example. We're about to work with 3D shapes. And this is the first example that we are building. So for now, we just created a scene graph called root of the group object type. We added that to the scene of 600 by 400 pixels, background lime green. We're setting the scene on the stage. Stage is getting shown. And then we're calling the start through the launch method that we're calling from the main. So that's what we have for now. So except for Greg, who just joined us, Greg, I created a new project and I added the libraries to it. So make sure that when you're creating the project, don't just hit submit, because you got to remember that after you name your project, you got to go into the next, and in the libraries, you got to add the class path and add external jars. So make sure you do that step. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Now, for the rest of us, let's create a cylinder object. It's a built-in function. It's a built-in class of JavaFX package cylinder. Oops, I misspelled cylinder. Cylinder. And that creates a cylindrical shape. And we will add the cylinder to the group. Okay. So now when I add it like this, nothing shows up because my cylinder has no dimension set. I just have a cylinder that I've added to the scene graph. So you need to have the dimension set for the cylinder to show. Okay. So first of all, cylinders are circular. So we need to have a radius. Cylinders need height. Okay. And you'll be like, okay, does it show up now? Look at how it shows up. Not in a good spot because it's placed in the top left corner. If you want to move it to a different location on the scene graph, you got to use some properties like translate. You got to translate its X and Y coordinates. So let's translate the X coordinate. And then let's translate the Y coordinate. Okay, so as you can see, it got displaced 300 pixels from the left and 250 pixels from the top. Everybody got this working? Good? Okay. Now, if you notice, we don't really see a cylinder. You probably, if you look real close, you may see a bit of a curve at the top and a bit of a curve at the bottom. But you don't really truly see a cylinder. There's another cool object called perspective camera. You can actually do the camera setting. And then once you pick the camera setting, you can actually move the camera on the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And in animations, when we move the camera around, it's actually the object remains stationary. It's basically the camera that gives us an angle on the object. And that's exactly what we'll do over here to make it look like a 3D shape. Okay, so we're going to be doing some camera settings, for which we will be using a built-in object called perspective camera. And I can use the cam to set the translation of the x-axis, and the translation of the y-axis for the camera, and translation of the z-axis. Then, once I'm done with that, I need to then go to my scene object, and I can say, you know what? I would like to add a camera to my scene object. Hold on a second. That's how it was. Okay, I'm gonna add the properties back. I just wanted to show you the difference. This is without camera, and the bottom one is with camera. You okay, Jordan?
I spilled some milk. Not that much.
Well, don't worry, he recorded it, so we can all.
Well, no crying over spilled milk, right?
It's true. It's true.
So
There's
that's why
napkins
Jordan
on
is laughing on it. Probably Jordan has an air conditioner on. It's cold.
It is cold. I got a heated blanket. I'm in a basement though. It's always kind of cold down here.
Oh yeah, basements are cold. Absolutely. You know what I do in the summertime? I close all the vents in the basement.
Mine, most of them are closed.
Okay.
It's
And
the
the
closest one is.
temperature is nice in the basement on a hot day. But as the night falls, it gets cooler.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
You need to grab one of your spare heat lamps.
Right. I do have a heater under my desk actually when it gets really cold down here.
That's what I did when I used to, when the COVID first hit, I started teaching from the basement. But man, after teaching for 4 months, I got sick. Because I was in the basement for like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize because I wasn't used to working from the basement so much. And I actually got sick, very sick. And I was sick for 1.5 years with that sickness.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I sleep down here. I'm like always down here.
Okay.
But yeah, that's crazy. It must be really cold in that one.
Yeah, I didn't even realize, how much time I was spending there. I don't know, it was a combination of whatever, but yeah. So anyway, and in the wintertime, you open the vents. Everybody got this cylinder going? I know Greg joined us the last. Greg, did you also get it?
I'm just setting up the argument so I can
Okay,
see if I
sure.
launch it.
Yeah. That's fine. In the meanwhile, let me complete the attendance piece. And Greg, as I was telling everybody that we will not be meeting next week because of the professional faculty training. So you guys won't have any of your Wednesday classes. So after
Okay.
today, we will be meeting back on October 5th. Oh, right at the correct time, Francisco is joining. So Cole and Robert, you guys are done with this example? Right, okay, cool. So let's move on to our next example. So let me save this example as demosphere.java. Now, I had this problem with my other advanced Java class that some people were naming their classes after the Java classes. So some of them call their classes sphere. Okay. So then they will be like, oh, why isn't my class working anymore? I'm like, because you named it the same as the Java built-in class, it will not work because anytime you try to call sphere, it'll be looking at your class for that. So that's why it is not a good idea to name your classes after the Java built-in classes.
So if you wanted to call it, you would have to actually call like the JavaFX dot cylinder full.
You would have to do that at that level, right? At the line level. Otherwise, it will assume that you are talking about this guy. So even if you import the packages at the top, it will still give preference to the local version versus the imported one. Okay. So Francisco, whenever you're done setting up your project, you can then get started with us on this one. So for the sphere, instead of cylinder, I'm going to be calling it sphere. And instead of C, let me call it S. Okay, sphere. I don't need the camera settings, so I'll just delete that stuff. Okay. And I'll remove all the camera setting lines. And let me change the color of my scene to white. Okay. So of course, just like cylinder, sphere also needs a radius. So let me set its radius to, let's say, 50. Okay. It doesn't need height, but it does need a translate X and a translate Y. And why does it need to translate? Otherwise, it'll be in the top left corner. We want to place it elsewhere on the canvas. So that's why I am giving it some kind of a translation so that it is not placed in the top left corner, rather is placed someplace else. Okay, so let me I need to run config. And okay, so here you can see a sphere. One of the other properties that you can add to the sphere is the cull face property. And this is where you can say, okay, if I want my cull face to be set to, let's say, none. See how it evenly divides it. Perfect shape to show moon phases. Francisco, let me know when you're done with this example. I think the only person we're missing today is Victor. Okay. Now, guys, let's go back to this cylinder example, and let's save our cylinder example as demo box, because I will be needing the camera perspective for the demo box. So that's why I asked to use the cylinder, not the sphere. So we'll be using the box as our class. We can call it B for box. Okay. And boxes don't have radius. However, box does has a width. And box does have the height. And one other thing the box does, and that is called the depth, because of the third dimension. Okay. And then we can do the translation for the box. We want to move it on the x-axis and the y-axis. And we can even move it on the z-axis. Then I set my camera perspective as before. And here we have a box with width, height, and depth. And give me a green check when you guys are done with this example.
I think the space heater's gonna come on too.
Really, is it that cold?
Oh, that's to me. I'm in shorts though.
Ah,
The cold's the only thing keeping me awake right now. If it was warm in here, I would be falling asleep again.
again.
I've been up since 3 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah. Got out of bed at 3:20.
You got me beat by 2 hours.
Oh, I wish I didn't. I woke up 10 minutes before class, pretty much.
wow. So something like this can be very easily designed by using Java 2D graphics. So you can have, those circles and polygonic shape and then some arcs. Something like this can be easily done, okay? As far as Java 3D stuff is concerned, then you can probably do something like this. You can apply textures and stuff like that. Again, this is not an animation course, but I'm just giving you a little bit of perspective as to Java 3D has come a long way compared to the earlier editions like Swing or AWT. I remember many years ago, I think it was Swing's infancy years, when I started teaching Java 3D, and we had to install separate packages on top of the Swing package, special set of libraries, so that we would be able to do Java 3D programming. It would not come bundled with the software development kit. Anyway. Okay, so let me clear your feedbacks. Let me go back here. And this time we'll start a fresh application, a brand new class. We will call this one Demo Checkbox. Browse to make a child of application with a public static void main. I will borrow some of the code . So right now you just have an empty window. I want to create a text, not a text field or text. So we're going to be creating some text here. Oops. So the difference between font weight and font posture is for italic and font weight is for bold. Right now, I've set both of them to nothing. Now, my question to you is, how can I add all three items to the VB object or VBox type?
You would do vb.getChildren.add all, and then list those three elements or those three objects.
Okay, and then I can add all three objects. Cool, awesome. Okay. And here I have. If I want to have an action handler, I would have to do it on each one of the checkboxes, right?
Not if you were to put them into a group.
Checkboxes, radio buttons are grouped,
Oh, okay, okay.
okay? So there must be another way to get things done so that we have an event handler that can allow me to work with both checkboxes, and the event handler automatically gets fired for both checkboxes. That's one thing. The second thing to keep in mind, as we learned last week, that when we had an event handler, we called the set on action for the click event, and we created an object of event handler type, which was capable of listening to a click event with action event, and we overrode the handle method. That's what we did. But that was written on a particular object. Now I'm in a different situation, so I may have to deal with this a little bit differently. So what I'll do is this. I'll create an event handler object capable of doing action event. Oops. I'll even give it a name. I'll even import the packages. If you remember from the Java 1, that if an unnamed inner class has only one method to override, how can I avoid that I don't need to write the method name and still being able to call it? If there's only one method to override, what would be a shortcut way that I can call the method and wouldn't even have to write it? I will use an object followed by what we call a lambda expression. A lambda expression will allow me to replace the only override method. It will automatically understand the body that I'm writing, line number 23, curly braces, to line number 25, curly braces. It will be the body of that only one method that needs to be overridden. So I do not need to mention that now. if bold dot is selected and etal dot is selected, then both of these properties, instead of being normal, this will be bold and that will be italic. Else if only bold is selected, then this will be bold, but this will be regular. And instead of else if. Else, if only ital is selected, then etal will be italic and the weight will be normal. So I created this event handler and I call it the name handler. Okay. Now I need to associate the handler with the checkboxes. To do this, I would have to say bold dot set on action handler and italic dot etal dot set on action handler. So I'm pretty much saying whenever somebody click on bold or etal, they must pass on the click event to line number 23 and let the handler take care of that. Okay. Give me a green check when you get done and have tested it to make sure that the checkboxes are working. Okay, so Robert, are you the only one working on it? Okay, everybody got it. Awesome. Okay. So let's save this as demo color picker 1. I know we worked with color picker last time, but I want to do some more examples to show you a little bit, a few more things about event handling. So that's why I'm calling this one demo color picker, as we'll be working with the color picker object. So let me get rid of this whole thing and replace that with color picker. You know what? Teach you guys one more thing. Let me push the declaration of color picker outside of the start, just to introduce how we can also create some global object, which are global to all the methods in the class. Unlike button, which is very local, color picker and label are not. They are accessible to all the methods in the class. So we will add the color picker, the pick color button, and the color label. We're adding all three of them to our VBox. And let me change the VBox dimensions to 960 by 600.
I got the same thing.
Oh, I never instantiated my label object. That's why, because I declared the color label, but I never instantiated it. And I'm trying to call it on line number 23. That's why. Here we go. Okay. Of course, it has no action handler right now. So it just gives me a color picker and a button, and label has no text in it. That's why it's not showing. So one of the reasons that I've moved my color picker and label outside of the start method, because I want to teach you how you can write an event handler outside of the start method and then use that event handler inside the start method. And let's go one step further from that. We will create an event handler as a named inner class. Okay, as a named inner class, as opposed to an unnamed inner class, as we did in the previous examples. Then anytime we need to handle an event, we simply can create an instance of that inner class and it handles the event for us. So let's go down to right past the main method, okay? On line number 33, this is where I'm going to be creating a named inner class. I think the button handler one implements event handler. Now I'm following the same trail as before. The only difference is that now instead of creating an object of event handler type, I'm creating my own class as a child of event handler. Okay, and why do I have an error on line 36?
It's not implemented yet.
Yep, because because I have an unimplemented method handle. Because the parent is abstract, the child has to code the abstract method. Okay, so how do I grab the color that the user picked from the color picker? We did this last time. We did this last week. Let's see if anybody remembers that. How do we grab the current color from the color picker?
It would be cp.getValue.
Get value, okay? So I need to grab a color object equals to cp dot get value. And now cp is global. That's why I'm able to access cp. Okay. Now, after I do that, I want to use my color label dot set text fill to the value I grabbed, and color label dot set text to color is and then inside the start method, I would have to create an instance of button handler one, and then assign that instance to any object that needs to handle the event. So once we get done with the bottom piece, we'll go up to the top. And right here, I'll create my button handler one. So I create my button handler object, first of all. Then I will take my color pick color button dot. Which function should I use to assign this event handler to the button?
On action.
Set on action. Okay. So as you pick a color, it not only changes the text color, but also tells you what color is it that you picked. Okay, give me a green check when you guys are done with this example and have tested this. So we got Josh and Josh is the only person still working on it. Okay.
Yeah, it's just not list. When I click the button, it's not listing the color and giving me an error. So I'm just gonna figure out
It's
how that
giving you an error. What's the error?
well, it gives me a long one. Exception in thread, Java application thread cannot invoke Java scene control color picker get value. because
Okay,
it's
okay, okay. Now try to see if you have your button handler class done correctly.
It appears I do.
Okay, now can you share your screen? Let's have a look at it. Can you try running it again, please? Okay, can you scroll up in the errors? Okay. It's giving you the error on line number 50. Color picker dot get value is coming out as null. Can you scroll back up to the top?
I
please?
see.
Yeah, go ahead.
I see what it is. Line 25, he has color picker before CP. We removed that when we did it.
Oh, we already declared it on line 20, line number 20. So do not have the color picker written twice, because what it will do, line 25 color picker is local and line 20 color picker is without an instantiation. So get rid of the word color picker from the left of CP. Yep, because we already declared it on line 20.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I've given you an instruction in the chat. So you will save this one as demo color picker 2 and also save it as demo color picker 3. So you'll have 2 classes, and then you will, of course, rename the classes. Okay, this is what you will be doing. I will be putting you guys in groups of 3 people. Okay, and this is what you will do in the demo color picker 2. you will rewrite the event handling with an unnamed event handler. So you'll just change that around, okay? And for demo color picker 3, you will rewrite by using unnamed inner class with lambda expression. So you're pretty much doing a rewrite of demo color picker 1 in the 2 variations of 2 and 3. In picker 2, you're writing an event handling with unnamed inner event handler, inner class event handler. And then in the number 3, you're changing that unnamed inner event handler with a lambda expression. So I'll open your rooms now. So let me share my screen again. And what I did in the demo color picker 2 is that I wrote an unnamed inner class in set on action method, as opposed to calling the handler object. And then I moved my handle object, handle event right there. And then I did the same 3 lines. No difference in the body. So that's an unnamed inner class that was created inside set on action. Then in the demo color picker 3, what I did from the demo color picker 2 is, because this is the only method that needs to be overridden. So in demo color picker 3, I just simply used in set on action. I directly used this guy, the action event AE right here, the set action event, this thing. I'll replace this whole piece with that. And then I use a lambda expression because that's the only method to override. So I just use a lambda expression and wrote the body of the method. Do not need to write this whole thing, public void handle stuff. So that took care of with the lambda expression. Everybody got that? I'm still waiting for that everybody thingy because I didn't get the green checks from everybody. Okay. Now take the demo color picker 3 and save it as demo color picker 4. Okay. Rename the demo color picker 3 to demo color picker 4. There's even a shorter way to do this. Since set on action can only take an action event, you can just simply replace this whole thing with an object, and it'll know that this object will be of an action event type. And it works exactly the same way. Okay. Now, next, go to the Blackboard. And under Blackboard, go under this unit, unit number 3. If you scroll down to the bottom of unit 3, you will find a US flag. Right-click on the US flag and save it to your local computer. Save it as your local computer, okay? I'm just calling it US flag. Once it gets saved, we'll bring it in the project. So I'll just give everybody enough time to save it. Once you save it, then you can simply drag and drop the US flag onto the source folder and copy files. So the US flag will also be listed in the SRC folder. Then we can save our current example, which is demo color picker 4. We're going to call this one demo image view 1. Demo image view 1. And of course, we'll be getting rid of some of the objects that we don't need. So action handler and all of that stuff that's unneeded is gone. Okay. So this is what's left over from the previous example. I'll create an image object. And to the image object, I will give this image file, which is usflag.jpg. Okay. And make sure that the image class is from the JavaFX package. So I'm creating a pane, which is a container that can't be seen. It's in a horizontal box. And in that pane, I'm adding the image. I cannot add image directly to the pane, so I'm adding it to the image view, and then that will be added to the pane. And let me get rid of this VBox stuff. And let me add to the scene the pane. And let's make this 1100 by 600. Okay. I will show you different variations of this image through the properties, but this is only the first one. So that's how it will show up. Got it?
Mine is giving an error. It
Uh,
says invalid URL or resource not found.
did you make sure that the US flag is in the SRC folder and it's not in the package, is not in the project?
Oh. Oh. Oh, I put it in the wrong. Sorry, I put it in the wrong project.
Oh, okay. So that's one way to look at the picture. Now let's create an image view object. And we're going to call this one view 1. And let's load directly in the image view object, the image. So 1 is unnamed image view object that you can see on line 18 that gave you a full-blown image. Now this one, we will actually lock it into a certain height and certain width. And that's the reason I use horizontal box. As you can see, the pane I use is horizontal box because I want these pictures to be shown horizontally in the same line. Okay. So I got my first one, which is full blown. I got my second one, which is only 100 by 100. Okay. Now let me copy line number 19 and paste it again and make it a view 2. And I will be adding view 2 to the pane, but one with one slight modification, that for view 2, I will actually rotate the picture 90 degrees. So notice how the flag appears now, rotated 90 degrees. Okay, did you guys get this working? Robert and Cole. Okay, so waiting for Robert to give me an okay. I hope it did not stepped out.
I know Robert told me in the breakout room he was having trouble staying connected.
Oh, okay,
That might be it.
okay, probably. Okay, so let's do one more thing here. Let's save this example as a demo image view 2. Demo image view 2. Okay. And in the demo image view 2, let's get rid of line number 18. And also let's get rid of lines 24 through 26. So that's what we have for now. We have a US flag fit to 100 by 100. Now let's delete line 15 also. So what I will do next is I will directly list the image in the image view, just to show you that image view also has a constructor that can directly take an image. If you have an image loaded in the IMG object, like image object, you could use that, or you could directly load it here. Okay, so now let's test to make sure that things are showing on the canvas. Okay, so here we have 100 by 100 image showing on the canvas, okay? Maybe I can reduce it to 250 by 200. Since I don't have 3 images. So just to make sure that, yep, it's fine. Okay. Now down here, let me build a path transition. Where the duration will be in milliseconds, as we learned about that last week as well. So let's give this 10 seconds. And the path will be a line. So it's going to be the path, because you can actually define a path and animate on the path. So I'm animating this on a path of the line, where line will start at 100 to 100 and will end at 100, 0. And view 1. Path transition. Okay. Path dot set cycle count to 5. That means I want this to happen 5 times. And let's play the animation. See that? It's a vertical line on which the flag starts, goes, and then starts again and goes, you know. It will do that for 5 times. So that's what path transition does. It lets you set the time. It lets you set the path. It lets you set the object that will be animated on the path. And the number of times, and then you start the animation.
I'm getting an error that I can't figure out.
Where?
Uh,
Which line?
it doesn't actually tell me which line. It just says error occurred during initialization.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Can you share your screen?
Yep.
Try again. Okay, go back to your run config. Okay, let's go down to the config argument for this one. Okay, it's there. It's complaining about, okay, click close. Close again.
Close it again. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean like close Eclipse, and then open Eclipse again.
Okay.
Which game is that? Is this Assassin's Creed?
No, that's Elden Ring.
I still need to play that game. I have it.
It's a good one.
I still
But-
can't play it.
The same error.
Except, yeah, I'm looking at it. Java fx.fxm. Can you try running a different example to see if it runs other examples that are already compiled? Okay, it does. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Okay, let's go back to the current one. Okay, probably. That shouldn't matter, but go ahead and run it. No. An error occurred during the initialization of a boot layer. Set to time at all v1. Oh, instead of add all, use add on line 38. Okay, now try running it. No, still okay. So view one, fit height, fit width, pane dot fit show, run dot add view one, path transition, new transition. Can I? No, that's fine. Can I see your imports just for a second? No, the expand line number one. Expand line one, yeah. Okay. Okay. Just organize your import.
Delete the ones I don't need.
Just hit source, organize imports. Source menu, hit the source menu and organize imports. Okay, cool. So those are the ones that we need. Okay, save the changes and run again. Okay, can you comment out lines 26 through 28? And okay. Okay, no, that's not a problem. Okay.
Can I see your run configurations again real quick? You're missing the L at the end.
The L.
OFXML. You might have
Yeah,
copy pasted, but forgot the L. Oh my God.
Wow.
because the error was saying Java FM or FXM wasn't found. So,
Yeah, that was it.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Wow, cool,
Thank you.
thanks. Interesting,
no
very
problem.
interesting error.
I must have just missed it when I went to copy paste.
Very easy to do.
Okay, so now let's save this one as demo image view number 3. We'll not be doing transitions here for this one. So we have our image view, which is US flag. We are setting its width to 100 by 100. And now let's add a label. We are adding the image, sorry, not image, it's view 1. We're adding the view 1, which is the image view, to the label along with the text. So instead of adding the pane, the view 1 to the pane, we will add the label. Okay, so that's how it looks like right now. US/N is new line 50 states, all in the same label. Label. Which method should I call to give CSS properties to the label?
Get style,
Style. Yeah,
Get-
get style.
Get style? No,
set
I want
style.
set style.
That style.
Set
Yeah.
style, right. Okay. So that will give the CSS property of a green border of width 2. Okay, and this is changing the fill color to red. And this will change the placement of the image. That'll be at the bottom. So little properties like these can be used to handle stuff.
So this may be a question that you can't answer, but obviously set content display. The only thing that that's meant to use is to set the content display. So why do they require you? It's almost like a redundancy to say content display dot bottom. Why can't you just say bottom?
Okay, because bottom is a constant that is declared inside the content display class. So when you are calling a constant, which is not locally declared, you need to reference it by the class in which it is declared.
I mean, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so how about let's take a break here till 7:35. And then when we come back, we'll be looking at keyboard event, mouse event, and recursion and multi-threading. So that's what we'll be looking at after the break. You guys in 20 minutes.
So the fun stuff.
Hot stuff. That it allows you to call a function over and over again till the certain condition is met. As soon as that condition is met, it starts a rollback process. So it acts like a loop, but it's not really a loop because you're not going over a bunch of instructions again and again. Rather, you're making a function call, and that function call will go on for a certain number of time. And then upon the rollback process, it will do what it is supposed to do to complete the job. One of the famous examples in this process that we use is the example of a factorial. So factorial of, let's say, 4 is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So we start with 4. Now we call the same function with 3. Then we call the same function with 2. We call the same function with 1. So we keep calling till the function gets a parameter of 1. Now when it gets a parameter of 1, now we start the return process, okay? So what we return is whatever number comes in, return it to the previous call. So 1 gets returned to the previous call. That was a call of 2. And multiplied that by the previous call. So that is 2 times 1. Then return that to the previous call, which is 2 times 3. Return that to the previous call, 3 times 4. Okay, so it started at 4. It's going to come down to 1. I'm going to start wrapping up all the way back to 4. So it first goes down till it hits the last state and then start going back up. So that's basically what recursion does and how recursion plays. So let me share my screen again. And let's do an example here. Creating a Java class called recursion demo with a public static void main.
So we don't have to change the superclass?
No, no, this is just a regular Java stuff, not Java FX specific. Okay, so we'll create a public static integer factorial function that will receive a number. So that function will receive a number and will have its own structure of returning a value. We'll get back to that. In the main method, all we do is we say factorial of, let's say, 4 is, and we make a call to factorial and pass 4. And we expect a 12 back, which will be 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Oh, sorry, 24, not 12, 24. Now, what we need to do here inside the body of factorial is that since the function needs to call itself over and over again, we got to make sure that when the function gets a parameter of 1, that's when it starts the return process. If it doesn't hit the parameter 1, then it needs to keep multiplying the current value of num with a call to the same function with 1 less value of num. And here you can see the output. So when line number 12 calls line number 4, then line number 4 calls line number, excuse me, 8. And 8 basically calls 4 again, but this time with the value of 3. And then the 3 then makes a call back to itself with the value of 2. Then 2 makes a call back to itself with the value of 1. And then when it gets a value of 1, it starts returning. So 1 gets returned back to the previous call on this spot. So 1 times 2, which is 2, gets returned to the previous call, which is 2 times 3, which is 6, gets returned to the previous call, which is 6 times 4, 24. And since that's the last call, because the highest value for number was 4, the program terminates. Okay. Now what we need to do here is if we change the number from 4 to, let's say, 10, this gives me tech factorial of 10, which is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it just keeps calling itself more and more and more. Okay. So if I go 20, okay, that's when it fails. Okay. Now, if I go long, and long, okay, so I'm changing instead of, so okay, for long, it will work because long can take number much larger than int. Look at it, factorial of 20 is this massive number, right? How many digits is that? 19 digit long number.
It didn't like it when I
Whatever
set
is
it at
after trillion.
factorial 200.
So again,
It didn't like factorial 200.
it will not because it won't be able to compute it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even 30 breaks it.
Yep. Because I think long goes up till 19 digits or something like that, negative 2.4 or something like that, to positive 2.4. Yeah. So that's basically what a factorial does. Keep calling itself till it starts going back. Now, if we were to change this around saying, you know, accept a number from user, then calculate the factorial, you know, I mean, like we can take that approach too. I've given you a task in the chat. Now I will be breaking, I'm gonna be putting you guys again in groups. And that's where you will be solving this problem. So let me recreate the groups. And again, okay, let me give you guys maybe 15 minutes for this one. You have the logic done. You just need to be able to create the form and being able to execute it. And then there are a few conditions to check. So you will be accepting your input from the user, and then you will be working the main logic. So the room's open now.